That always makes me want to dance. I like that little ditty there. And I'm always thankful for the fact that you are so welcome to be here with me tonight. Hello, my friends. Welcome to my personal reality show. I have a very good friend of mine, someone that has been with me through many different challenges and many different experiences. And I'm very, very happy to be welcoming. Now, I'm not welcoming you to say anything yet, Dana, but I'm welcoming you to the show. I'm going to do a bit of talking to the people out there in the world. And I just wanted to let everybody out there know that if you're watching me live, by all means, give me a like, a heart, a care, connect with me, follow me, whatever the case may be, wherever you're watching me from. The only place I'm not going live is TikTok and Instagram. One day I might figure that out, but right now I'm not too concerned about it. By all means, subscribe if you're watching me on YouTube. And absolutely, comments are welcome no matter where you're watching from. If you're watching live, please say something. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're doing the replay thing, give me the hashtag replay and where you're watching from. Happy to have you here with me tonight. And you're always welcome to make relevant comments. Anybody that hasn't met me before, I am Coach Dean Brown, father of 5, high performance, law of attraction coach, and of course, personal empowerment. I love to help people get things done and realize that, wait a second, I could do that. And of course, I'm an affiliate marketer. You wouldn't know that till I just told you. I'm an investor and a serial businessman. I empower coaches, consultants, creative business owners, C-suite executives, all of those people who might be struggling with a lack of results and cracking that code to get to the next level. I help them become more productive, work fewer hours per day and fewer days per week. We all want to get there so that they can reconnect with your passions and live life to its fullest. I specialize in high-ticket lead generation, leadership development, and working with the law of attraction to get you there. I'm a brother to those who know me and a friend to those that don't. Of course, what is the My Personal Reality podcast all about? On this show, I do candid interviews with professional executives, celebrities, notable figures, coaches, consultants, therapists, authors, entrepreneurs, marketers, speakers, influencers, and politicians. Not sure if I ever really want to have a politician on here these days, but hey, all of our guests have achieved some success through wins and losses and lessons they've learned through life and as they go. And of course, right now, this time of year, we all have, a little bit of a cough, a little bit of a tickle in the throat, but that's not a worry right now. It's Canada, it's cold. If you're communicating with me from Australia or Africa or Hungary or Budapest or Siberia, which I have people there connected with me, I've discovered that no matter where in the world we are, it's not the heights of our achievements, but the depths of our losses that defines our character, my friends. And that's what develops our strengths. So my goal is to learn more about my guests right here with you as we hear their ideas, their lessons, their advice, their tips about their business, their life, their job, their insights, so that they can share and we can learn about the wisdom and increase the wisdom in the world. And by all means, this production is sponsored by Dean Brown Marketing Limited, which happens to be me. And this is where we teach you to generate more sexy moment, more high-ticket leads, close more sales, scale your revenue, maximize personal productivity, and get those corporate team results up where you're making more than 6 figures, and 7 figures, 8 figures. Let's do this. The format of this podcast is long form, it's casual, it's unscripted, so that we don't give our guests an expectation. We want to try to surprise them and give them oh, I never thought of that concept going on there. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear it raw and authentic, so that you people out there in the online world can say, wait a second, that was a good question, and that was even a better answer. And of course, I do this because I love to facilitate the enjoyment of living life to its fullest for myself and for others. And that's why my special guest is here today. And of course, this is Dana Robinson, a good friend of mine from back in the day when I was actually at Law Enforcement Foundations training, which is long ago, when I was in Everest College, which is no longer an entity here in Canada. Dana, welcome, my dear girl. How are you today?
I'm excellent, honey. How are you?
I am doing well, and I'm very, very pleased that you chose to pop on with me tonight. And I'm always, always, always encouraged to hear your wisdom, to hear those little nuggets that you have. If you were a detectorist, you know what a detectorist is? That's one of those people that does the metal detecting. You would find the biggest chunks of gold. I know you would, because you're always some really good nuggets. And I always really appreciate chatting with you, because you always have some wisdom that I never either I totally agree with, but didn't expect. And of course, having said that, I just would love to hear you share with, and I already know the answer to this because we've known each other for so long, but tell the people out there in the world a bit about your background, and your story about what happened in your life to get you where you are now, and maybe an interesting fact about your background that shaped who you are today.
Sure. Yeah. Sure, I'm happy to do that. I guess the earliest start for me is in high school. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't unpopular. I was just one of those people that sort of knew everybody, but didn't really hang out with anybody kind of girl. I wasn't the cheerleader. I was the mascot. I was not, the smartest tool in the shed or the brightest bulb in the classroom, whatever you want to call it. But I held my own. A B student. And I don't know, I just, I've always been a people watcher. I love people. I love just, watching people and see how they interact with each other and do certain things. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was one of those people when I finished school, I was like, oh God, now what? No idea. And I started working really young. Yeah. So I was working for FedEx right out of high school. I think I was a waitress for a little while and started FedEx like August that summer. And FedEx was a great, first time job and paid well. So I didn't go to school right away. I moved out, bought a car, did, the young thing. And then I just, puttered around for a long time. I think what changed my life, though, and what made me sort of grow into the person I am today is when Facebook first came out. Believe it or not.
I remember that too.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. I joined Facebook maybe a year after it came out. I wasn't one of the first people to hop on the bandwagon, but I joined about a year later. And I knew nothing about privacy or anything like that. And I was a very public profile. And somebody from high school actually wrote me this magnificent letter. And it really opened my eyes to the kind of person I was. It's really funny. I don't think when you're young, you analyze who you are and who you want to be until somebody starts pointing out the things that you already are. Yes. Right? And this girl told me that, and I remembered this happening. She had come to school early and she was sitting by her locker and she was holding her knees and she was crying. And my locker happened to be next to hers. So I came up and I saw her crying and I just sat beside her. I really didn't say much of anything. I just sort of sat beside her. And when her crying sort of calmed down, I just sort of said to her, I'm sorry for whatever it is you're going through. I'm here if you ever need to talk. And that was it. I never really said anything else. I never, I stayed with her until the bell rang. She went her way. I went mine. We weren't close friends, but we were acquaintances. We knew each other. She wrote me that letter telling me that moment changed her life, that she was having some serious trouble at home. And that trouble was making her think about taking her own life. And the fact that I just sat there and listened to her, not knowing who she was, not knowing what she was going through, made her change her mind.
Absolutely beautiful.
When I got that letter, I realized at that moment that we never know the effect we play on somebody else's life.
You don't. You really don't.
And to lead with kindness all the time. And I just started to pay attention to the effect that I had on other people's lives and other people had on mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it just sort of my goal, outside of all the other work that I do, to help people. And so I helped people in every way I knew how. I volunteer a lot. I did a lot of things with teenagers. Once I had my own kids became really important to me. So I did a lot of things with teenagers. So yeah, so I think that was the pivotal moment for me, for sure.
When someone spoke out and gave you that awareness of what you've done without even realizing that you had done it,
Yeah.
that's a very powerful thing. And I was recently having a talk with a very influential person uh, online as Zoom. It's like we're on StreamYard right now, but a lot of people still use Zoom. The reason I'm using StreamYard is so I can stream to very many different places. I got what, one, two, three, five different Facebook pages and profiles and groups, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And back in the day, when you started with Facebook, it was like, wow, I'm on Facebook. And it's like, when I started on Facebook, I was like shy and I didn't have any tech skills at all. I mean, I even went to computer science at DeVry and still didn't know a shit about computers because it was all about programming. It wasn't about using the computer. And of course, by then, Facebook was all about the user experience, right? So it had nothing to do with programming or code or anything like that. But what I'm getting to is that you showed compassion naturally. You're a naturally compassionate person. And this person that I was speaking to recently, I asked them, what do you think is going to make the most influential difference in the world today for the sake of humankind on a global scale? What one thing do you think is going to make the greatest difference? And I'll give you a moment to answer that question, Dana. What do you think it is?
Definitely compassion.
There we go, girl. And this is why I love you so much, because compassion was the word. And this individual said, I've had people say kindness, but kindness is a component of compassion, because you can be kind and not care.
Yeah.
Compassion requires that you care. And that you have to have some empathy involved in order to be compassionate. You have to have some understanding. You have to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You have to be willing to close off your own story and embrace the other person's story in order to show compassion, to experience compassion, to share compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need as a species today in order to get through this craziness that we're going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a few things about the mandates out in Eastern Canada, where you can't go to the grocery store unless you're vaccinated. And I'm not pro-vax, I'm not anti-vax, but I am pro-freedom. And man, oh man, oh man, when I heard that, I'm thinking, wow, there's going to be some crazy stuff going on for people. You can't stop me from getting food. I'm going to get my food for my family. And this is the thing that really blows my mind, is how much of a difference you've made for me. And I know I've made a difference for many people as well. But Dana, I'm curious. We're talking about compassion, and we're kind of brushing up against the word skills. But what habit or skill do you think that you have that makes you different from most other people?
Honestly, I think I'm very self-aware, and I'm also very good at empathy, not sympathy. I'm very good at putting myself in somebody else's shoes and reminding myself to think before I speak.
Good.
I recently actually had this conversation with somebody because I do this donation with my work to the Barrie Fridge, the community fridge. It's like a food bank. And then there's one in Innisfil as well. And we sort of contribute to that on a regular basis because it's empty all the time. And a friend of mine said, I don't contribute to that. And I asked him why. And he said, because the last time he went there, he saw some guy in a very expensive car clean it up. And I said, okay. And that deterred you. Why? And he said, well, because why would somebody in a very expensive car need food from a free giving place that's meant for people that need it? And I said, well, what if that really expensive car is all he's got left? What if maybe he's bringing some food to people that can't get out to the fridge? And he just looked at me and he's like, I never really thought about that. So I think I've just gotten very good at reminding myself that we never know the other person's story.
And
So
other people.
that's right. That's right. So check yourself before you make a judgment and before you pass, comments or make a decision that could hurt somebody else. I mean, he wasn't giving to that fridge where people clearly needed, and he could have been, right?
Yeah.
So,
And a form of judgment on his part.
mm-hmm.
And punishment, because not just judgment, but then he chose to punish the fridge by not donating. So he made that judgment based on someone that was using it, and then turned around and chose not to donate, which would be punishing all the people that he could have been helping.
That's
and
right.
It's one of the things that we are caught up in this world right now, is a form of judgment and then punishment. And the punishment is almost decided before the judgment is complete, because who in the world thinks it's right to tell people they can't go buy groceries? And that's just my feeling about, this is madness, and we got to find a way to be more compassionate to our fellow humans and not be judgmental and so willing to jump on that punishment train. It's just not who we're meant to be as humans. Our society globally is doomed if we can't find a way to drop the judgment and the punishment and build up the compassion and the empathy.
Right.
And if we can't find that place, then we're going to learn some tough lessons in a short period of time. Having said the word lessons, Dana, what do you think would be one of your most memorable or influential or life-changing lesson that you've experienced?
I think I told you about this one before. I think I learned the most from my kids. Mm-hmm. Kids in general, but my kids have really, really taught me a lot. And, I think people go through life and make mistakes. We all do. And we learn from them, hopefully, and we try not to repeat them for sure.
Right.
But everything that we do has a trickle effect on somebody else. Everything. Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, there's a consequence. And it doesn't matter what that consequence is. There's always an equal consequence to whatever you do.
One of the laws.
My husband and I split for 4 years, and my son said to me one day, if you could go back in time and change that, would you? And my immediate response was, absolutely. And my son said, why? And I said, because as a mother, I feel like it was 4 years of hurt that you didn't have to go through, that you and Caitlin didn't have to go through.
Right.
And his response back to me was, I'm a little offended by that, Mom. And I said, why? And he said, because who I am today is partly because of that split. And I feel like you're saying you don't like who I am today and that you would change that.
Wow.
So I think the lesson that I learned from that is that even though I felt like it was a mistake, and it did hurt everybody at the time, yeah, we grew together and we learned together. And even though the consequences then were hard, mm-hmm, the long-term consequences weren't. And so I learned that to not be so hard on myself.
Right.
And to remember that as long as you're doing everything from a place of love and no intention of maliciousness, that things tend to work out. They just do. Yeah. And my son really taught me that lesson pretty quickly that day.
and deeply, because this is his son. And yeah, as a mom, I mean, as a dad, I have feelings for my kids, but I know that all moms are in a place where they have a deeper connection to their kids, a deeper sensation of their emotions, their feelings, how that kid perceives the relationship between their mom and their dad and their siblings. So that would have been an extremely, like an eye-watering moment for you. And
absolutely.
You shared that with me a little while ago when you were one of the watchers on a different Go Live that I was on, mm-hmm, and you actually shared that with me then. And that was a powerful moment for me to take in, and it still brought some moisture to my eyes just now hearing you say that, because previously I couldn't see you, and this time I could see you when you shared that story. So, and we have to be thankful for the lessons we've learned. We have to be thankful that we have the ability to change who we are and what we do and how we do it because of those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
How we're meant to grow. It's how we're meant to be, get to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
It's
For
how we
sure.
learn skills. It's how we get to that next place that helps us help other people more. You and I both like helping other people, and that's what we do. But when it comes to helping other people, you've mentioned empathy. We've talked about compassion. You're a good listener, obviously a good listener. What habit or skill do you think makes you different from other people, from the rest of the people that do what we do?
Well, one of the things that I am that I've done, especially during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
is I've collected quite a few different tools to help people get through COVID. I started out doing it just for me
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm a very social person, and when COVID first happened, it was hard. Like I can't even begin to tell you how hard it was. And I watched a lot of people around me suffer with mental health issues. And the funny thing is a lot of those people I didn't realize had mental health issues before,
Right?
but some of them actually did. And COVID just sort of exasperated it. Like,
Oh,
just,
huge.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I started reading a lot. I journal, I write. I have created a bunch of journal prompts. I meditate. You actually helped me with my meditating skills.
I'm glad to hear
Um,
that.
and I've just sort of collected, like, I've built a little bit of a toolbox. Um, I think, I think the biggest thing that sets me apart is that I keep those tools and I utilize those tools,
Beautiful.
but I also share those tools.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people do that, but I think during COVID, there was a big gap
Huge.
for people
Huge.
that needed it.
Oh, oh. And this, and we're talking about this. This has been a big lesson for the whole world. Never in history has this happened, where everybody was sent home to be there, and all of a sudden, all of those people that were avoiding home by working, being workaholics, exerciseaholics, some, alcoholics, whatever the case may be, some sort of aholic, where they were focusing almost to an extreme, and in many cases beyond an extreme, they were sent to home to be with the people where they couldn't be extreme anymore, or where that extreme didn't work so much anymore. And this has really changed a lot of circumstances. Like you mentioned, it exacerbated a lot of people's mental issues. It put us in a place, many of us, where we were either going to get stronger or just get totally broken up because of the way society was managing itself previous to having to go home and stay there and be locked in our houses together. And that's when you found out whether you were a good partner or not, a good mom or not, a good son or daughter, or whatever the case may be, brother, sister, whatever.
Right.
We got a crash course on who we are and whether or not we're on the right track. And it's been a real big lesson for the whole world. And then, of course, the mandates come in, back and forth, this way, that way. Now the opinions come in. Now the division comes in, where there's this person thinking that against that person that's thinking the opposite, or maybe they're thinking the same thing but doing the opposite. And it's been a big challenge. We've talked about this previously in the call tonight. Compassion compared to judgment and punishment. And we really, really need to work together. And I'm thanking you so much, Dana, for having those tools, those things that at first it was selfish. You built those things up thinking, I need these things. But as you went through, you realize, wait a second, I need to share these things. And this is what the transition, the paradigm change needs to be. We need to share our compassion, not say, I'm so caught up in such and such and it's all about me. Yes, we need to know who we are, but we also have to help other people understand who they are, as well as help them understand who we are to them. It's the connection, it's
In,
the relation.
in this world, too, with media being so in your face, it's always been in your face, but with COVID, it's been like
Right there.
really in your face. And the problem is they never show the amazing things that are happening in the world. They never show the
Good.
compassionate and the kindness and the people coming together to do these wonderful things. They
Yep.
show all this garbage.
Yep.
So people are already suffering because their world is completely changed and collapsed, and now they've got to face things that they've never had to face before. But now the news is also giving them all this horrible, horrible stuff. You know, there was a girl on Facebook not long ago who is a friend of mine, and she put on there was, "I'm reaching out because I'm hoping somebody out there has some tools that will help me out. I realize that since I've been home with COVID, my heart's gotten angrier, and I've become somebody I don't like, and I really need help with that." So it was her that prompted me to go, "Oh, I can help with that."
Right.
Right? So, yeah, she was one of the first people that I reached out to and say, "Hey, listen, you know what? I have a toolbox of stuff because I really struggled in the beginning too. I'm more than happy to share that with you."
Beautiful.
You know, and it's making a difference for her, even in a small way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the media has a huge influence in how we see the world for sure.
100%, 100%. And I think you have. I don't know if you started the Facebook page, something about good news.
Oh, I've had that page forever.
Tell us about.
That's a funny story too. I created that Facebook page probably about 6 or 7 years ago. For that reason, I got rid of my cable because like I just felt this heavy weight all the time. Um, and I thought the world needs to see some lovely things. Like we really need to share some of the beautiful things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is the small fraction of what they're seeing on the news is a very small fraction.
Yes.
There is actually far more good news than there is bad. Far more.
100%.
We just don't share it. So I
That's right.
created that book to that page, that Facebook page, to sort of open it up to everybody to share any feel good, happy, warm stories that sort of could counter what they were
Yeah.
seeing in the media.
Well done. Well done. And I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed that I pay attention to many of the posts. For what I do, I can't pay attention to everybody's posts. I follow a lot of people, and I I would spend my whole day on social media and get none of my help, none of my clients, or spend no time with my beautiful wife, or my kids or anything like that. And we got to watch. We got to temper our time. We got to block our time. And when I say block it, I don't mean make it not happen, but we got to segment it and say, okay, I'm only going to spend so much time on this, and I need to do such and such. So I'm going to give myself 2 hours to complete that task. And we need to find a way to be more purposeful in the things that we do and how we do them. Now, I really appreciate Mike making that comment about, how well done, Dana, on touching on that subject, because this is what we need to do for ourselves and for the rest of the world. We need to get into that place where we're helping other people realize, wait a second, good things happen today. And I was part of some of those good things that happened today. They happened to me, or I caused them to happen to somebody else. And that is so powerful. And Dana, I'm just curious, from this discussion here, what would you claim to be the biggest thing that fulfills you?
Helping people, really, really, in any way, even a small way. It's funny. One of the things that changed, which made COVID at the beginning very difficult for me, was how much I volunteer. I didn't realize how much of me was wrapped up in helping other people.
Yeah.
So I had to rediscover myself a little bit too. But I spent a lot of time volunteering. I volunteered, oh my gosh, at Gilda's, at the Mission, women's and children's shelter, many different places, all in person. All of a sudden COVID happens and none of that can happen anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing for me was that's who I am. How do I fulfill myself if I can't help people? So I had to rediscover new ways to help people and to reach out to people and to, just do what I like to do. Right. So yeah, definitely the time that I'm most fulfilled is when I'm helping somebody else. 100%.
Beautiful. And anybody that's out there watching this right now, live or on the replay, take notes, because this right here, what we're talking about with Dana and what you're sharing with us, Dana, is the key to the survival of the human race, is to helping people, being compassionate, dropping the judgment and the punishment thoughts, being in that place where we can make a difference for other people by helping them, by giving up what we feel we need and giving it to other people. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go without it, because Dana, you gave that person something that you used, but you still have it as well. So you shared it. You didn't give it up. You just
never give it up.
You just made it. You added to the world by giving up something that you had to share. And that's what this needs to be. This is how we need to do it. And just out of curiosity, what's something that you've read or listened to recently that's inspired you the most?
I actually read a book and I'm rereading it. It's called Coffee Self-Talk. Believe it or not, this is a fairly new writer. Her name is Kristen Helmstetter. I found it on Facebook. It was one of those promotional books on Facebook.
Cool.
And it's really, it's really brilliant, actually. It's a very simple concept. It's about taking your coffee time and turning it into changing your inner dialogue. So learning how to take negative comments. And sometimes we think we're saying a positive thing, but there's like that one negative word in there that completely changes the meaning. That's right. So she sort of dives into that very deeply. She talks about in the beginning how to start off with something very small. And it starts to become like a mantra that you do every day. And truly, truly, truly starting your day with loving yourself and reminding yourself how amazing you are changes the course of the entire day.
Big time.
I think I told you this before. I don't believe in selflessness. I don't think it exists. I think everybody that does something, even helping people, is not a selfless act, because we do it because it makes us feel good. So it's not, I don't believe in selflessness, because I think there's always a trade-off. So if you can start your day being a little selfish, but also, just reminding yourself that you have something to contribute, that you're great at something, it brings to you just that warmth and positivity for the rest of the day. And everything that happens that day, you've drawn to you.
Yes.
The law of attraction, my friend. The law of attraction. But it's so true. And it's just as simple as saying, I am worthy. And you really, truly are.
Yep.
And yeah, that book, I recommend it to everybody. It's one of the things in my toolbox. Beautiful. And I'm highlighting and scribbling in it now, the second read, because it's just a very well-written book.
Beautiful. And just for everybody that watches this an hour later, when it comes to a book, when it comes to something that you're absorbing, you're using to build yourself, to build your strengths, your skills, your abilities, whatever the case may be, Dana just made a great point here. She's rereading this book. Now, I've come to realize that I'm a book listener. I do have books that I read. As a matter of fact, I'm on my way through this one right here. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Discover Your Strengths. And it's a beautiful thing.
I have the exact same book right there. That's
what
funny.
I'm trying to share it, and it is an awesome book. But Dana brought up a good point where she's rereading it. Now she's highlighting it, because what happens the first time we experience a book, whether we're listening, reading, whatever the case may be, our mind is introduced to a new thought, a new concept, a new idea, and we go down a rabbit hole, and we miss the next, especially if you're listening to a book, because the author keeps going while your mind is now disengaged from the content, and you've gone on a rabbit hole down something, Alice in Wonderland, here we go. How far down the rabbit hole can you go? And then oh my goodness, I've been missing the book. Now, with an actual physical book, you can actually stop time by stopping reading. And I've many times had to go back and reread a paragraph to go like, wait a second, what did I didn't quite catch that. And a lot of people don't understand that if they don't understand a word, the definition, the meaning of one word, everything you read after that is meaningless because you didn't understand that one word. So for anybody that's getting into the habit of reading more consistently or more in depth, don't be shy to have a dictionary on hand while you're doing it, because don't go past and keep going from those words that you don't understand. And reread a book, re-listen to a book. In my mind, you got to have it 3 times in order before you really grasp the concept. And then share what you've learned. Help people understand the things that you've learned, because part of learning is teaching. If you can't teach something after you've learned it, you haven't truly learned it. It's like knowing and not doing. It's foolish. If you know something and don't do it, then what in the world did you learn it for? And how good? What is the value of the lesson if you don't move on and share that with somebody? And Dan, I really appreciate you bringing that up. Out of curiosity, what is, and I'm sure you're going to say help people when I say this, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. What is the one thing that you're trying to accomplish with your life or your career as you move forward?
I'm actually not going to say help people. Helping people is part of who I am. I think, honest and truly, I want to just leave a legacy behind for my family. I want my kids to realize that kindness is, and compassion and helping people is the key to happiness, and to be genuine and authentic and true. I want to lead by example for them so that they can lead by example for their kids.
Right.
So for me, it's more about, showing my kids what can really happen when you are just genuine and kind. That's really my ultimate goal.
Beautiful,
for sure.
Beautiful. I gotta love it. And that's a good legacy. That's a legacy that'll carry on and build through your children, through your grandchildren, and just it'll be a foundational contribution to the betterment of humankind. And I appreciate that very much. Just out of curiosity, is there a myth or a problem in the world that you think people don't understand that you'd like to speak to?
Well, I sort of touched on that already.
Yeah.
I've gotten into many debates about selflessness. Many. There was one that sticks out in my mind. I was having a conversation with somebody at work, and she called me selfless. And I said, oh, no, I'm not selfless. I said, I've done some things that, can be considered selfless. I said, but the reward is always there. And she said, what do you mean you don't believe in selflessness? I said, it doesn't exist. There's always a trade-off. For everything you do, there's a trade-off. You do it for the purpose of getting something in return. And that doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I'm going to lend you $50. I expect you to lend me $50 next time. It just means that I'm going to do this for you. I don't expect that money back, but it makes me feel good to be able to give it to you. Right? Somebody at Everest, it taught me that, actually.
Nice.
Tina, I was having a really tough time one day, and I was driving my boyfriend's car at the time, and it broke down in the parking lot, and I locked my keys in it.
Oh.
It was one of those really old cars that nobody could get into. Everybody tried to jimmy it and get into the window. We could not get into this car. I had zero money in my bank account. I lived paycheck to paycheck. I was a single mom at the time. I lived paycheck to paycheck. And she came out and she said, just call a tow truck. And I'm like, I can't afford a tow truck. Like, I can't do it. Within 5 minutes, there was a tow truck there. She came out, handed the guy the money, and he got my car, the keys out of my car, and got me going. And I can't remember how much it was. I think, for argument's sake, we'll say it's $80, right? And I said to her, I said, I'll pay it back. I promise. Just, it has to wait until my next paycheck. She said, no worries, whenever you can. So the next paycheck came, and I'm very much the person that when I owe somebody money, I need to pay it because it just weighs on me, right?
Yeah.
Well, my paycheck came that day, and I totally forgot. I worked all day long, totally forgot. And so I went home, and I beat myself up about that. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to think I don't want to pay her. Like, I really overthought it. The next day I went to her, and I'm like, why didn't you remind me? And she's like, listen, I didn't give that to you with the expectation of getting it back. If I ever were to do that, then I would never have lent it to you in the first place. So I learned from that yes, it was kind, but it wasn't selfless. It made her feel great to be able to help me. Um, and I learned that everything I do in that way. I don't do it with an expectation of something back. I do it because it makes me feel good as
Right.
a person to be able to do that for you.
Beautiful.
And she taught me that actually, for
Beautiful.
sure.
Beautiful. And this is how we're supposed to meant. We're meant to be connected as humans. We're meant to share the good parts and suppress the bad parts so that we can make ourselves better as a race, as a species. Now, Mike was a former student at Everest College. And if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you were in the business program and you were graduating as I was starting. And you would have been there, Mike, when Dana was still working in the, what was it, the thing that you did in?
I was in the admissions office. I think I know who Mike is.
So that would be where you know Dana from, Mike. And of course, I love the fact that uh, I am the reason that we're connecting Dana with Mike, and it's just a beautiful thing that we're able to be in that place and share this connecting humanity as one and moving forward with a purpose that builds the race up in a higher vibrational level. The law of attraction teaching, the compassion teaching. Dana, you're an amazing manifester. You're one of the greatest manifestors I know with the law of attraction. You've gone through some things where your positive attitude has made the most amazing difference where other people would have been a real mess because of what was going on around them. And like Mike is saying here, that school was the start of his success. And of course, now I think you know where Dana was, what part of that was between Mike and Dana and Dean. Now we all have that in common, the School of Everest College.
It's funny. Everest College was, there was so much there that was toxic,
Yeah,
but it changed so many lives at the same time.
yeah,
It really did. It was really the start of me rediscovering who I am, for sure. 100%.
yeah, yeah. And there's lots of people I'm still connected with from that school.
Me
And
too.
yeah, and it was a great experience. It changed my life. It gave me a new career, which made me realize that I didn't want to have a job anymore. And I, all right, that's okay. So I've gone through printing. Now I've gone through automotive parts manufacturing. Then I went through security, and that's just the three big ones that I've done. And I came to realize that having a job sucks, and because it's a circumstance where you can't make enough money, and you can't have enough freedom. And I really really am impressed by you, Dana, for how well you do with. Is it okay if I say where you work?
Yes.
Tell us and the amazing things that you've done at Telus. And I'm very, very pleased with how well Telus has treated you, because it's a great example of how a corporation should be treating their employees. Because it doesn't mean that we should all stop being employees. There's lots of people that need to be employees. If we all had a business, there'd be no employees getting the work done, and things would be a mess. So there are certain circumstances, or many, many circumstances, where employees are extremely valuable, extremely important for the success of every business. There is no,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have an employee. As your business builds, Dana, you're going to probably find you have an employee, and there or more. And of course, I'm going to build my team as the scale goes. And this person can't do the work they need to do, or get it all done. Like that's why I hired them. So because I couldn't get it all done, and that's just the way it goes. And of course, Mike, you're going to start a business in spring, and I've already had a couple of ideas of the things that I expect are going to happen with your business as you build it. And Dana, you're already an affiliate marketer with Sensi, I think it is, right?
Yep.
And this is, we do these things sometimes by accident, as Dana would attest to, but we're getting a little bit long in the tooth here. I don't want to keep going. We're pushing 45 minutes, and it's been a great time talking with you, Dana. Is there anything you'd like to share before we break off?
Just just to always remember that we don't know somebody else's story. So approach every situation with empathy and think before you speak.
Yeah.
Honestly, kindness is your best bet always.
Always.
Always. Lead with kindness.
Yeah. I put your link up here for Scentsy. Anybody that wants to connect with Dana for something that smells great, that makes a big difference for your home, by all means, this link is going to be up here for a minute. And of course, if you want to connect with Dana and talk to her about something new or more, or, you know, just to connect with a beautiful person that is got the welfare of humanity in mind, with a beautiful heart. She saved me from further wanting to commit suicide. She gave me something positive to think about. You woke me up when I was sleeping in my car because I had worked through the night, and I still had to get up, wake up, and be a student after working all night. And I'm very, very thankful for everything that you've done for me, Dana. And I'm very, very thankful that you were on this call with me today and have been watching me go live many, many times in the past little while. So I really, really appreciate that. And there we go. Mike's appreciating what we've had to say. And awesome. Much love, sister. Hang in there. We're going to chat again more, but I'm going to say goodbye to everybody out there in online world. By all means, give us some comments even afterwards when you do the replay. And by all means, be willing to make a difference for other people as well as yourself. Much love, my friends. We'll see you next time I go live. Bye.
Bye.